Hi folks, this is all the fruit. I'm in the Middle Rhine Valley in Germany, basically a piece of southern Europe in Germany, with all those rubble walls, the dry vegetation, the cliffs and vineyards and goat pastures everywhere. And it's not a small piece. I've been biking for about almost a dozen miles, over 20 kilometers through this countryside, and they have a couple dozen miles ahead of me. Yeah, the Middle Rhine Valley. Funny thing is that the countryside around the Middle Rhine Valley, just a couple hundred meters away from the Rhine in both directions, is nothing like that. It's just the Middle Rhine Valley at the lowest couple hundred meters, or even 1 or 2 kilometers of the tributaries. Look at that. And this is not only one of the craziest looking places, but still basically looks like something in Greece or Turkey or southern Italy. And we had some drought in spring, but the last couple weeks were actually quite cold and wet. And look at this stuff. It still looks like southern Europe. Well, the architecture is quite German, those medieval German cities and castles. And pretty much all of this was cultivated. Not just in the Middle Ages, but until a couple decades ago. And we are here for the strange cherries. Relics of cultivation, feral and wild stuff. Unfortunately, I couldn't find everything I wanted to show you in one area. For example, they have feral mirabelles here, not cherry plums, but mirabelles. They also have buckthorn, which looks a lot like a cherry on the first glance, but it's not. Well, what else can I show you? Here is some blackthorn, which is actually a close relative of the cherries, and one of the parent species of our plums. But let's go to the cherries. Yeah, this area doesn't look as rocky as some other areas, but because everything was cultivated. Those are terraces. They were wine terraces until the 19th century, like in large parts of Europe. And then in the 19th century, some American diseases struck the vineyards, and the European wine industry basically crashed within a couple years. And then a lot of those areas became huge fruit orchards. I mean, you have basically a sub-Mediterranean climate here in Germany. You have the railroad right down here. This railroad goes right between Frankfurt and the Ruhr area, two of the biggest metropolitan areas of Germany. And you can basically sell your early cherries throughout Germany. Because of your good climate, you will get a very good price, and because of the railroad connections right beneath your orchards, you will be able to transport the stuff to pretty much everywhere in Germany and beyond Germany. And so those steep slopes with this really rocky soil were actually quite lucrative for cherry growing. Sometimes also other stuff like some walnuts and plums here. Well, let's see what we have here. Prunus mahaleb, the mahaleb cherry. The seeds are being used in Turkish, Armenian and Greek cuisine. The fruit are not too great, and here in Germany it's used as an ornamental sometimes, but also it's used a lot as a rootstock for other cherries. Well, yeah, very bitter fruit. Definitely inferior to Prunus avium or Prunus cerasus. This is native only to the warmest parts of Germany. In the rest of Germany, it's basically introduced in areas like railroads and ruins and factories, everywhere where it's hot and dry. Let's see here. Here we have some wild Prunus avium, but it seems to be an early one because it's already gone. Let's see here. is a wild Prunus avium, which is still fruiting. Huh. Maybe also some descendant of some. Actually, the cherries might look like wild Prunus avium, but they are nice and sweet. Well, this is not really a wild Prunus avium, but probably some seedling from some cherry cultivar. They have a lot of interesting fruit tree cultivars and especially cherry cultivars in this unique climate here, but I couldn't find a place where you can basically see them and get all the names. But this is some small cherry. Small but very tasty. I don't know if those cherries were cultivated on purpose. I mean, they are small. It's more work than picking big cherries, but not impossible. However, Prunus avium, just like Prunus mahaleb, is native to those slopes. And so those Prunus avium, this is probably some hybrid between some wild cherry and some cherry cultivar, or two cherry cultivars. Well, what is not native to those slopes is Prunus cerasus. And since Prunus cerasus doesn't get very old here and this tree is not too big, those orchards must have been cultivated until, maybe until about the end of the 20th century. It's amazing. This plant cannot be too old. I mean, there are feral Prunus cerasus thickets on dry slopes in Germany, but I don't know. They are just two perfectly spaced trees here, so I think those two might have been planted. And here they are suckering freely and trying to create a Prunus cerasus thicket, but they are competing with the Prunus spinosa, and also they are being eaten by the goats. Here a Prunus cerasus that's almost dead, but the most interesting cherry for me is this here. Not entirely sure what this is. It kind of looks like a Prunus avium, but a very unusual Prunus avium. Here are some remnants of the vineyard. Let's try and look at this particular tree from above. Where can I climb the cliffs to look at this little tree from above? Because I'm really not sure what it is. This, by the way, is one of the biggest hotspots of biodiversity in Germany, size-wise, and also if you count the species. There is amazing flora and fauna around here. As I said, a piece of southern Europe in Germany. Now let's look at this cherry tree from above. Look at it. Oh, I hope I don't fall during the video. Well, oof. Come on, come here. Oof. It looks like a very puny wild Prunus avium. Well, the leaves are quite small and a little bit dark in color. And look at those long peduncles of the fruit with very small fruit. Somehow it reminds me a little bit of Prunus padus. It's definitely not Prunus padus. I saw Prunus padus somewhere around here, but further down near the Rhine where there is more water. Let's pick a couple of those little fruit. Already quite dry. We had a lot of rain during the last weeks, but the months before were quite dry. Nice, but the taste is definitely not of wild Prunus avium. There is no bitterness, but there is some tartness which is not typical for Prunus avium. Oof. Neither for the wild nor for the cultivars. I don't know, folks, what is this? Is this, I mean, it is growing on a very dry and difficult slope. Look at that. This used to be agricultural land until some decades ago. It is growing on this dry slope, so it could be stunned by drought and other factors. But still, it doesn't look like a typical Prunus avium to me. The fruit are very small, but it's not a wild Prunus avium. It doesn't really look like a wild Prunus avium, and it doesn't taste bitter at all. I think there is definitely, I think it's a hybrid. And there is definitely some Prunus avium cultivar in this hybrid. But could it be basically a hybrid, a mix between two Prunus avium cultivars that created something that looks more puny and primitive than the wild Prunus avium? Or could it be a hybrid with another cherry species, with Prunus padus, with Prunus mahaleb, maybe even with Prunus cerasus over there? What do you think, folks? I don't even know, come on, how to recognize those hybrids. I mean, probably nobody really knows, because this is not an exact science. Hybrids between different species and different cultivars and the relics of cultivation and stuff, I don't think that they are proper books for identifying those things. But tell me, what is this last thing? Yeah, that's basically what I wanted to show you, this crazy part of southern Europe in Germany. A couple of the cherry or Prunus species you can find on those dry slopes. Oh, by the way, this famous cliff over there is the Lorelei, one of the more famous cliffs in Germany, although a little bit puny. And then I wanted to know, what do you think about this plant here? Is this a hybrid between what species? Yeah, hit me with your opinion. Apart from that, stay tuned for a lot more fruit videos from beautiful Germany. And don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe.